Welcome to something special. Welcome to TEDx. This TEDx event is part of a global conversation that takes place every day in every corner of the world. In schools, in theaters, in workplaces, even in prisons, people gather to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. More than 3,000 TEDx events are held every year in 170 countries. It's a remarkable thing. TEDx events are self-organized under a license from TED, a non-profit organization devoted to discovering and sharing powerful ideas in the form of TED Talks. It's not TED itself, but your local TEDx team of volunteers that has done all the work to put on today's event, including booking all of the speakers. It's this team's ideas, dedication, and time that have made this possible. We really hope today's program sparks an exciting conversation. This is a day for curiosity and for skepticism, for inspiration and for action. The more you enter into it, the more you will take out. And now, on with the show.
Hello, everyone. No hellos? Welcome to Designing the Future, AI's role in art, creativity, and architecture. Those who know me know that I have a tradition when it comes to speaking engagements, and it's to ask everyone to stand up and say hi to everyone. The ones who are in back behind you, on the right side of you, on the left side of you, please stand up. Say hello and welcome. When I was thinking about welcoming you, a word that kept coming up was I had to also welcome AI into the space and not just human beings. So, dear fellow enthusiasts of innovation, you are embarking on a treat. It's such an honor for me to be here at KTH. All of my siblings studied here, and it's been an anthem in our homes. I am a girl from Tensta. My name is Binette Sek, will be the host for today. This is the 8th TEDx KTH Salon, not saloon, because that would be something else. A cool collab between KTH Library and Tekniska, the National Museum of Science and Technology. I just want to say again, get ready for your questions, be curious. Please check in and know that you're here. You're welcome to this space. And we've been longing to meet you. Tekniska is, by the way, a science of innovation hub since 1924 that joined this adventure as well in partnership with KTH. So let me walk you through the agenda. And important information. So we have this thing about emergencies in Sweden, and many other countries we barely ever mention it. So we have it just from the entrance where you came in and above you. So in case of emergency, you can also just reach out to any of the people that are actually standing behind you. Please find the exit doors behind you and above. There will be a break where Tekniska will take you on a journey through space, demonstrating how storytelling can be used in open space. The station will be led by Jesper Wallerborg and Alex Kaminska. I don't know where you are, but you're probably seated right there. The station, we have Magdalena Tavelin Helder and Emily Sabel that will conduct a mini workshop. Did I mention it right? On ethics and the existence using Tekniska ethic machine. So I'm not going to be the speaker for today, thank God. I have, we have invited some of the most prominent voices when it comes to AI and designing a future. And I'm so honored to be able to spend time and ask questions and engage with people that I find as role models. So with no further ado, I would love to welcome up on stage the first engagement, which is Mosaic with AI. Mosaic. Welcome on stage, Mosaic.
Now it's better. Hello, KTH. I'm Luca Cassini, and I'm part of the Mosaic project, which is held here at KTH in the TMH division. And today we're going to play for you folk music. But first, we want to introduce a bit the project and what we do, to give you a bit of context around what we're going to play next. So the Music Project, which stands for Music at the Frontiers of Artificial Creativity and Criticism, is an ERC-founded project led by Professor Bob Stern, which cannot be here with us today, so we are representing, and has the goal of investigating how AI can broaden musical practice, and it looks at a series of axes. So we have performance, we have composition, but we also have analysis and listening, and we also have criticism in the sense of being skeptical, as the introduction say, about what AI and music are. What do we mean by AI, and what do we mean by music even? And let's mention, whoop, it's not, okay. Let's mention all the members of the team. As I said, the PI is Professor Bob Stern. Then we have 3 postdocs. David Cabrera, who will play the guitar with us next. Ellen Kanov, which is our latest addition. She's a musicologist. And me, Luca Cassini. Then we have 3 PhDs. Nicolas Jonasson, Laura Grosvilla, which will play the flute next, and Joris Gruvels. And then we also have a research assistant, Marco Merotti, which helps us with a lot of fun projects. And these people work either in machine learning, or AI specialists, music information retrieval, signal processing, but also musicologists and humanities. Joris has a degree in opera performance. So it's a very broad project. And it's a humanities project, even if it sounds like an engineering project. And let's talk about a few of the things that we do. So there is a broad focus on music generation. It can be folk music, which is some of what we're going to play, but also harmony, chord progressions, drum loops, and as many now, we're starting to engage with this thing called large language models, like GPT, because it's out there. So it can do something for music, and we want to investigate it. But there's also the more traditional part of music information retrieval for analysis, as we mentioned. And lately, our efforts are focusing on this necessity for a new form of musicology for AI. And we're going to hold a conference next year here in Stockholm about this, because the way that AI is impacting the musical world, it's so different and new from what we had before that it warrants a new way of studying it. If anything, for the size that we can see now, it can do a lot of music very fast, and this is unprecedented. Oops. Okay, sorry, it gets stuck. But as I mentioned, we're going to play folk music, but not really. What I mean is that we're using this system called FolkRNN and some other derived models that can generate new music after being trained on traditional Irish folk music and also Swedish folk music. And the point here is not replacing traditional musician. The point here is engaging with this tradition and doing something new, something that our Professor Bob Stern calls sometimes machine folk. It's a different thing, it's a new thing, and it doesn't want to replace what was there before. And also it's an interesting machine learning project. For this reason, we started what is called the AI Music Generation Challenge, which now we're going to introduce with a video. Is it not playing?
The AI Music Generation Challenge in year 2020 was about building machines that can generate music in the style of Irish double jigs. My name is Bob Sturm. I'm an associate professor of computer science here at KTH, and I'm the organizer of the AI Music Generation Challenge 2020. Essentially, building a machine that can generate music is a simple problem, but to generate music that's in a specific style and that can reach a level of plausibility with respect to that style is extremely difficult. That's why, in this challenge, I propose that machine learning researchers create these algorithms that can generate a very specific style of Irish traditional dance music that would be evaluated by experts in that tradition. In the end, we received 6 submissions. We selected items at random from each one, and we gave about 45 transcriptions to 4 judges to evaluate. In the conclusion of the challenge, the judges were unanimous in their decisions of the 2 tunes that should be singled out and awarded a prize.
My name is Paudie O'Connor and I'm a button accordion player from the Slieve Lucra region in the southwest of Ireland. Slieve Lucra is famed for its polkas and slides and single jigs, and I've been playing music in that tradition for over 40 years. The AI-generated tune that we selected as the winner of the competition had all the characteristics of a tune that...
So in the interest of time, we're going to move forward. But there is one important element that emerged from this, and it's interacting with the expert, with the practitioners. Because you can generate music with an AI. And as engineers, we really like to measure things and say, this is better than that. But what do you do when you have music? Who wins the music game? It doesn't really work. Or when you try to make it work, then you will end up selecting something that looks like a measure of quality, but hides a series of assumptions and biases that can be very dangerous. The only way out is having people evaluate this human artifact that is music. And so for us, it's not about just making the music. That's not the interesting part. It's putting the human in the loop, as we say in the community, and having people investigate the outputs, evaluate the output, judge them, and also play them, because this is something that's written down, it's written music, but then you need to play to even see if it works. And what we're going to do today is taking 3 winners from the past 3 editions of this Music Generation Challenge that we then worked with, arranged and changed and extended, because this is not an AI music concert. This is an AI and human music concert. And so what we will show is where you end up when you collaborate with the machine to make new music that doesn't sound like Irish folk, doesn't sound like what you would do alone, but it's a new thing that comes from this combination. And if you look at the last line, there is a Music Generation Challenge this year too, but it's called Artificial Traditions this time. So we don't want to model music that exists in the real world. This time we want to come up with a new traditional music using AI, because now we have tools to make new images, new music, new rhythms, new stories. And what we want to see this time, and if you're interested in any of this, you should participate, is where can we go with these systems? So I will now call Laura and David on stage to start playing, but while we set up, you can be entertained by Bob again, playing some more folk music.
have Luca, David, and Laura. A warm applause.
Thank you.
I didn't even want to go back on stage because I was like, one more, just one more. That was beautiful. And the whole time I was like, I'm looking at human beings playing AI-generated music. And I just want to know why, first. And then the second question is the question I think everyone has asked you, and everyone here is asking themselves, is will AI replace the human being or the human musicians? Yeah.
Okay.
Luca, first.
So, the first question was why?
Yeah,
And
why?
The answer is why not? But it's also connected to the same question. So, why would AI take this away? Who gains out? Who gains anything out of replacing this? And the answer is no one. We do things because we like doing things, or we do things because we can sell them. What I expect is that AI might impact a lot music as a job, music as an industry. Because there it's an opportunity to cut costs or to create a new product.
Okay.
But music as a human activity, it's something that we do because we enjoy. We play together just because we want to play together. And when we use our AI tools that are part of our research, is because they can spark our creativity. They can give us something that we were not thinking about, can take us to places that we were not going to.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you saying that AI can spark the human creativity?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to save that one because we need to dig deeper eventually at the panel and have a good conversation about that, and especially on creativity. But you're saying also that AI will it replace human musicians or will it not?
I'm expecting that, like a huge record label might have an incentive in replacing maybe a producer with an AI tool that does the same thing but faster and cheaper. But then we also have to flip the questions to listeners.
Yeah.
Like, why would you listen to the computer-produced version of a song instead of the human-produced version of a song? And then we might encounter this idea that, oh, but I'm interested in people. So if you take them away, I don't care about the song. And I think this is also true for images. When we look at the painting or at the image like that one, that's AI generated, by the way, like, we need something else to connect to, a story, a person, a shared experience, a feeling. You cannot have that with the machine by design, which sometimes is good. Oh, if you're doing advertisement music, it has to be as plain and unintrusive as possible, because music is not the important part. But when you go to a concert, you want to connect. And so the fact that AI exists, it's not going to take away the real reason why we consume music, for example.
Oh, so you're speaking of the engagement and the entertainment and the level of the feeling that human beings get from each other, the energy that we get from each other, that cannot be replaced by AI, hopefully. But I want to hear from you, David, or Luca, or Laura.
Yeah, so, I mean, the question, will AI replace musicians? I would say anything that can be automatized, it will probably get there. I mean, and Luca kind of mentioned it, part of the music production steps can already be kind of, like, you can see that it will probably be at least sped up with AI, the process. But the thing is, like, I don't listen to music because it sounds clean, like the audio. I listen to music because I can imagine the work that went behind it. I can imagine the artists behind it. I know the people that listen to that music as well. So I'm part of a community. I know the context. I'm interested in that. And I mean, what AI can do, at least for now, and that's what my prediction is going to be, is that it's going to make it sound cleaner, maybe the audio. It can give you new ideas on maybe the composition, But in the end, if there's not a human there that I can relate to, that I can put like a face to the music that I cannot connect to, I don't think that part can ever be replaced by AI. So,
just a question, raise of hands, how many here prefer AI-generated music? Raise a hand. Oh. Okay, how many here, by raise of hands, prefer human-generated music? Okay, so my last question for you, David, is, do musicians, do they still have a job now that AI is generating our creativity in music?
Wow, big question, really good question.
You have 1 minute.
1 minute. I think it's actually part of our responsibility as researchers, programmers, and also software developers to work in collaboration with musicians, with creativity itself, to bring tools that are going to spark or are going to raise the creativity in humans.
Ah.
So,
okay.
So the idea I think is to keep always human in the center of the creation, and only AI is going to be a tool without taking apart the action of making the art.
Beautiful. David Dalmazzo, Luca Cassini, and Laura Crosvilla. Thank you so much. That was interesting, right? Was I the only one thinking, is that really AI-generated music? So we have come to a point where we will introduce our very first TEDx KTH Salon conversation and talk, introducing political ecology of artistic creation with AI. Welcome on stage, André Holzapfel.
Thank you. So, all right, my name is André Holzapfel, and I promise you will remember me as the guy with the most boring slides today. So, I will talk to you about artistic creation with AI and political ecology. So let's try to see what that is. So you actually, just on stage, had a first experience, a first nice example of that, but I will give another one of creative AI, a classical example. So Beethoven, during his lifetime, he composed 9 symphonies, and a few, or 1-2 years ago, a team of people completed the 10th symphony. So that was hyped very much as an AI project, but that's actually a group of music historians, musicologists, composers, computer scientists working together over several years, and actually funded by a German IT company. So there's many players involved here. So from this example, but also from what you have seen from this beautiful music that we just had on stage, is that usually all that stuff is not pure AI. So in all projects, it's a lot of people working together, despite the fact that it is very often hyped as AI art, and the human activity is a bit concealed. So I think, basically as a starter, that all this that we can call creative AI as a collaborative tool promises really great extensions to artistic possibilities. But what about the environmental impact of that? Is there any? Should we think about that? And should we be concerned that most creative AI is available, is under the control of large corporations? So the political ecology then is actually, it's a combined perspective of looking at this environmental impact and at the same time at the power exercised by capital, by large corporations. So and the motivation of that is to ask, so the environmental impact may not really matter if you look at one individual. But if thousands of users are doing something, what is happening then? And for example, it's an interesting researcher from Norway, or working now in Norway, who showed that actually this whole change of the music industry from actual vinyl and CD stuff to streaming, that this has not led to a decrease in the environmental footprint of the music industry, but rather made it worse. So it's not that if something becomes apparently not material anymore, that the environmental impact gets less. So how is it then when we have creative AI? So an AI that creates a new Beethoven symphony or phrases or stuff for Irish music. What is happening with these models? So, well, most models used in that stuff actually need a very big load of energy, electricity. So in simply speaking, this energy goes into two processes, one being the training of the models, so the development of these models at companies, and the other one is the actual inference, so that is actually when we're all using that to generate images, to generate music. And traditionally, we say that this inference, so this actual use of the models, is more light. We don't need to worry so much about that in comparison to the training. But the point is, if many thousands or millions of users are doing it, then it becomes important to consider. So, in a nutshell, the environmental impact of creative AI may be quite significant. The example of GPT-3, which is essentially the thing behind ChatGPT, that some of us may be familiar of, likely has pumped as much carbon into the atmosphere as driving around the globe several hundred times by car. At least as far as I calculated that. I didn't try it by myself. Individual artists' projects, however, using AI tend to travel also several hundred kilometers by car. For example, on the NVIDIA artist gallery, most of the projects tend to use some significant energy. So that's not around the planet, but that's, let's say, from Stockholm to Malmö, right? That's a car trip as well. So, and there are at least two things that are bad about that. One, it's bad for the environment. And another thing, only somebody who's rich can do that, in fact. I mean, at least when it comes to the big models. So, but does that matter? How about the political considerations then? So the large computing power is not available to everybody. So it is focused in institutes and corporations in the global north, in rich countries. And artists are depending on large IT companies providing access to resources also. In addition, then, the tools that we are using, that artists are using to create things with AI, these tools lack transparency. So we don't know how much energy is being actually consumed when we're generating something. And we don't know what energy. So that generates kind of an ethical question for artists who ask themselves, do I want to employ a technology that dramatically increases the environmental impact of what I'm doing, and that puts the ability of practicing art and guaranteeing my livelihood at the goodwill of large IT corporations? That's a problem. So, in addition then, okay, going from individual artists to the question what it would become if we all were AI artists. And there I want to go to a writer from the 70s, Jacques Attali. Actually, he is still writing, but in 77 he wrote something interesting. He predicted the democratization of artistic creation by means of instruments that allow everybody to compose music. And this way, music would become an activity undertaken for the pleasure of the composers themselves, that this way become a combination of composers and listeners. Quite visionary. But Attali did not consider that these composition instruments might be actually controlled by large companies. That's something that he didn't consider. And I want to make the point that this combination actually shifts profits in an industry, in the music industry, from the production and distribution of music, where it usually was, to tools for composition. This will be a future source of profit for large corporations. Yeah, but which company may be using that stuff? Or which company might aim for such a thing? Well, Spotify is a company that actually is planning such a shift of profits. So the automatic creation of music, interestingly, does not really appear in the official presentation of research and development on Spotify web pages. Check Spotify, look at their web pages, you won't find it. At least I didn't. But in 2017, Spotify founded something that they call the Creator Technology Research Lab, which focuses on exactly the automatic creation of music. And the head of that lab, his name is François Pachet, co-authored a large amount of patents that, taking them all together, basically make a complete landscape that enables a company to automatically create music based on the data that they harvest from their users. In parallel, coincidence, question mark, in 2017, at the same time, all artists uploading music to Spotify for Artists had to consent that their music may be used for training machine learning models. Well, still, that is still the case today. I checked the user conditions a few days ago. So, and finally in 22, Spotify announced plans to publish a suite with tools that enable users to compose music with the support of AI, interestingly in a business magazine, so maybe to make their company more interesting. Right, so here we are. What would be the environmental impact of such a listener-composer system? So a system that makes every listener, enables every listener to compose their own music with the help of AI. So such a system requires a combination of machine learning systems, and each of them has to be trained. But they also, each of these systems has to be adapted in some way, personalized, adapted to the individual user, which is where it becomes interesting. So Spotify had, in 22, I read the number here, 182 million premium paying subscribers, right? So if a single artist project takes a few hundred car kilometers in carbon emissions, what about some million users? Well, how about a few 100,000 car trips around the world? How does that sound? Well, but the question is, I mean, that cannot work, right? Is that profitable? Right now, the profits of music streaming platforms are limited by large amounts that have to be paid to the music right holders. Well, with a listening composer system, this money can be redirected to training machine learning systems, right? Because there's no music right holder anymore. So financially, that may work, but it will actually turn artist revenue, artists' money, literally into smoke. In conclusion, and to come to a more positive message also, again, the combination of the environmental impact of creative AI with turning artistic creation into a commercial product will have environmental and social consequences. I had a look here just at music, but the same will be holding for image generation systems such as DALL-E and all the other systems that you may be aware of. So what do I think we need to do? So we need user interfaces that reveal environmental impacts of what we're doing with these tools. That will be very central for us to have any idea what might be happening. We also have to reject something that I would like to call technological determinism, this discourse of, yeah, AI will conquer, AI will... No, users decide what to use, which tools we are using and how we are using them. It's not AI that is doing that. And finally, nothing is for free. See Spotify for artists. These artists didn't upload their stuff for free. They gave their music for machine learning training. When you sign up for some new creative AI platform, ask yourself what the data is that you're giving to the company. Check that, think about that. And apart from that, let us all enjoy creating, but let us ask ourselves if we really need AI for that in all cases. Maybe in a similar way as we maybe think about it if we really should take our car when we drive from Stockholm to Malmö. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Come closer, please. This was absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
It's so good to get just a few minutes inside your brain. And it's so complex.
You don't want to be there.
You've just invited all of us. The question I have really, really quickly, I already know the answer, but challenge me, please. Can artists all over the world use these tools? Is it accessible for anyone and everyone?
Well, in principle, not everybody has the access to the needed computers, to the needed tools. Even if you think using a mobile, you still would need to have a very good internet connection. So these are limiting factors. But then also maybe a no, because if we just think what would then happen if it's not, let's say now, how many million Spotify users did I mention? So if we also add maybe even more people around the globe who are not Spotify users because Spotify doesn't exist in their countries, it becomes even worse, right? So if we really want to fairly distribute that, we arrive at a point where we just have to decide who gets the privilege.
More about that in the panel, perhaps. Thank you so much. A warm applause for André Holzapfel. And we have come to the second talk, TEDx talk, the Architecture of Wisdom Stockholm, by Astrid Stenberg, Tekniska National Museum of Science and Technology. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. So let's see. Nice to be here. I'm Astrid Stenberg. I'm from Tekniska. I'm the project manager of Wisdom Stockholm that I'm going to talk about today. And we are also part of today's schedule. As you heard in the break, we will have some trip into space, maybe, and some other. The world are... yeah, actually, I need this to see. So I don't have to turn around. But the world is complex. Just a little bit shortly as an introduction about the museum. We facilitate the meeting between our young visitors, industry, business. Oh, thanks. And innovation is a red thread through our way. We are using history to talk about the future. And this project I'm going to talk about today is truly innovative. And it's one of 5 spheres, domes in Sweden now. And it's all initiated in Norrköping by Visualiseringscenter that's specialized in visualization, connected to Linköpings University. So they already had a dome, and thanks to Alice och Knut Wallenbergs stiftelse, there were 4 more domes placed in Sweden. And you can call it an educational tool. And it's to understand complex data and research, it's adding a help. It's making a visual travel into space or into the body makes it much more easier to understand scale. And Sweden are quite ahead in visualizations, so this sphere, this dome is now a tool for us meeting the schools, meeting our visitors, and so. And so it's a theater film experience 360 in this direction. And so how would this land at the museum? The other domes are sometimes put in an existing building, like a small added building, somewhere where our museum director were thinking how to go further with this. Someone mentioned wood. Let's challenge the Swedish building industry and use wood. And there somewhere it started to go forward a bit quicker, and Stora Enso saw a perfect opportunity to have a public showroom, you could say, where you really show how to expand the way we use wood. And they gave us, Stora Enso, you could say, they gave us 2 standard material to make it even more complex. So LVL and CLT, LVL is laminated veneer lumber, it's like a plywood material, and CLT, cross-laminated timber, is like cross-glued boards that's often used for like more bearing elements. So these ingredients were put and invited 3 architects' office, White, Dr. Mandrup and Elding Oskarsson. And Elding Oskarsson were chosen they were most stubborn, refused to change their ideas, and their suggestion is quite obvious with a kind of textile handling of wood, a big grid shell construction as a roof. So now you see also that it is not only the dome sphere. The museum has been growing for a long time, and it's also want to grow further on. So we want this room also outside the dome. And here you see quite a vague picture, but the museum is situated at Gärdet, and it's I'll show this. It's a very eclectic mix of architectural styles with an old army courtyard, and when the museum moved there, like functionalistic main building 1936, and then Maskinhallen, the green vaulted building 1938, and then in the 90s, Wallenberghallen. So we have this strange inner courtyard where we will put this new building. And the architect's ideas, quite nice. How do we put this, where do we land, and why does it look like it does? I mean, you could do a big square, you have a magnificent view of the dome in the inside, but you don't see it on the outside. Or you do this low box, you see the dome beautifully from the outside, but not from the inside. So then, working really tight with Florian Koche, German-Norwegian constructor, do you say that? Engineer. They landed in this textile handling of the roof, a grid shell. And this is a model where you see it's quite low-key from the outside, and then from the inside, truly a cathedral height in the roof. All covered in shingles, wooden shingles, like really connect us to this old craftsmanship of how you used to cover roofs earlier in Sweden. Very nice combination with the existing buildings, and it's like another body being placed here together. And you see this, we also have now this inner courtyard, and you don't even see the building from the outside actually. You don't really build at Djurgården. This is the king's land, so it all has been during the process everyone has been very aware of not showing anything. Now when it's really beautiful piece there, it's a bit pity you don't see it, but you need to go into the museum to get into the inner courtyard. So now you start to see this room around the sphere, and I will actually get a bit further on here. So we wanted to challenge the Swedish building industry, and actually we challenged it so much, so we need to leave Sweden to even find someone to being able to do this. So we ended up with Blume Lehmann, and it's, I mean, the reason why I'm standing here now with AI talking, it's that they have the axe in one hand and the computer in the other hand. So it's a high technology building. And I can't talk too much today about this, but so you need to come and see and ask questions on sites. But Blume Lehmann have a free-form department doing Swatch headquarters and the Cambridge Mosque. So I mean, we knew that, okay, if someone can do it, they can. But we had this using LVL, that's a flat material. Often when you do these kind of structures, you use glue beams. So it was a totally new technique, even for Blume Lehmann. And I would say one key for success is their knowledge of how to build in wood, how you used to build in wood, how to do bridges in 1880, long spans, because this roof is kind of an eggshell of its own. It has to bear itself 26 times 48 meters. So there's no pillars or anything except for this weave of beams bearing itself. So, okay. They started to look on this, and here is how they kind of, okay, how do we do this? We used glue. Now it's kind of an IKEA product. Everything is delivered flat, pre-produced in factory, and just mounted on site by hand, bent by hand, and we'll see. So I will, one important piece is doing these mock-ups, but I will also, I mean, one-to-one mock-ups. But I'll talk a little bit about there, because if you go to Switzerland and you visit the factory, in the room next by the factory space where you pre-product the wood, you have like 10 or 15 guys and girls working with parametric design. So we have a roof that is totally asymmetric. All beams are unique, and Grasshopper, for example, is a very powerful tool of, I mean, this building is beyond human drawing, handling, so it's couldn't have been done without this kind of knowledge. So that's, it's a close, like in the room, in the factory, it's like where the people with this different knowledge are side by side during all project. That's also, it's not only the knowledge, it's how you put it together. So just, it's these slides from Blume Lehmann. I think it's beautiful because it shows the complexity of the building. And I'm not going deeper actually into that. One-to-one pre-production just to understand the pieces of the roof, how it will be made, put together. Down in the right corner you see Mr. Herman Blumer, 85-year-old. He's the one pushing it innovation forward, working with Shigeru Ban in a visionary project. This Blume Lehmann guy is often starting up the process. So in August 22, these were on site. And it's also, I mean, Swiss perfection regarding the way of instruction. That's how you mount it on site, how all different parts is put together. And then we have this very powerful ring beam holding the side forces together. You know, this roof wants to push sideways. So a ring beam and some steel. It's not only wood. The steel is hidden, but it's there. And then starting 4 or 5 guys working on site, trucks loading off the flat packages, being bent and then screwed together on site. So it's been like a big whale skeleton for a long time. Now it's covered also. And just want to show you this. I mean, often when you see architectural vision pictures that's made initially by the architects is often not the same as what you see on site. But the picture to the right is just a couple of weeks ago, and so it's craziness that we landed so close to the initial vision, actually. And we're opening to the audience 9th of December. So next week, we are cleaning it all up. And this is a picture from the courtyard. So that will be finalized during spring 24. And I think this is actually my last picture. So I'm a bit ahead of schedule. Can talk a little bit too much about this.
Thank you so much, Astrid.
Thanks.
Everyone. Astrid Stenberg,
yes,
from Tekniska. You know, you got me thinking because on one of the last slides, if you come closer to me, I want you in the light.
Yes.
My grandmother back home in Senegal, I'm born in Sweden, but my parents are from Senegal, and she's the same age as the guy who mastered wood.
Herman.
Herman.
Yeah, yeah.
She's illiterate, but she has mastered craftsmanship. So I would like to know if you could share with us how craftsmanship is used to enhance technology.
Yes, I would say it goes both ways. I mean, technology, as you see, makes us take craftsmanship further on, beyond what, just knife and wood could do. But I would say that craftsmanship gives technology a depth, a meaning somehow. And I think the building, also with the technique inside the dome and the technique Blum Lehmann used, it's the combination, it's the meeting that's...
I loved how you visualized what did you say? The axe in one hand and technology in the other. So a warm applause for Astrid Stenberg, everyone.
Thank you.
We've come to a conversation, a talk that is about what if AI helped you live in the place of your dreams, by Ingrid Campo Ruiz. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello. Close your eyes for a second and imagine what the place of your dreams could look like. Now open them again. And this place today most probably will be related to artificial intelligence in one way or another. Artificial intelligence helps us to choose places. It helps us how to get there, and also even how to adapt these places to our needs. But how exactly? Artificial intelligence is transforming the environment and the places where we live, but we really don't know how and to what extent. And this, in a way, makes us vulnerable, because it might be a change that is not in our own interests. It might be for the interest of others. So I began researching about the impact of the built environment on social justice. And I realized that artificial intelligence is a huge actor in this relationship. So I'm looking at images, roots, and text produced by artificial intelligence, and how that affects our way we engage with the built environment and with other people. So today, I would like to share with you 5 ways in which we can transform the world using AI to, hopefully, for more social justice. So machine learning uses enormous collections of data to train a model, and then this model can do tasks without having to be specifically trained for a specific task. So it can do predictions, but it can also generate images, it can generate text. And for example, all the images that I bring in my presentation today, I have been generating them interacting with AI model with Midjourney. So the first way that artificial intelligence can help us is to represent the spaces we imagine. Today, people with a smartphone or a computer can produce images that can help them communicate to others spaces they can imagine. So, for example, while I'm interacting with the AI model, I asked, let's produce can you produce a space that it's a pink plush room? And in just a matter of seconds, it produced this. So AI is making the representation of spaces easier, faster, and more accessible to many more people in the world than it used to be before. Before, these kind of models, only a few people could produce these kind of high-quality images, are so realistic, and they were really expensive to produce in most of the cases. So in a way, artificial intelligence is democratizing the representation of images. But besides that, whenever you interact with an AI generative model, it produces usually content that you were not expecting. So, for example, I asked Midjourney, produce a network of glass bubbles interconnected, and it created this. So, from my point of view, AI is really helping to expand the creative network, the creative background. We are interacting with AI, and we are not only getting a tool to help us better communicate our own ideas, but it's helping us to expand our creative framework, because it's giving us new content that we had not envisioned before. So this is really helpful in the creative process, and it can lead us to go to situations where we had not thought before. But the place where we're living is not just a room, and architecture is not just about having an idea, but also about understanding the processes, the possibilities, and most of all, the people. So the places we live in are not just rooms, but they are also the places where we spend our day, and the places we use to go to one place to another. In this sense, understanding context is key for all of us, and especially for architects. Context, the word, it comes from Latin. It came from the word contextere, which means weaving together, because people, ideas, and places were strongly interconnected in a network of relationships. And in this sense, artificial intelligence can also help us understand much better, I think, or more deeply, how is the situation, how is reality. For example, if I ask ChatGPT to help me understand, to give me some more information about a situation or a place, it will give me a very comprehensive perspective on a situation. And you can say, yeah, but probably the answer maybe is not correct. Maybe it's biased, or maybe it's even hallucinating. Yeah, but I still think that it will make us think about our own biases, our own personal perspectives, and our place and our relationship to that situation, and our own knowledge, and make us question. So I think that AI also helps us understand in a more broader way reality. So when we are, as architects, when we are approaching a situation, it's not just only about understanding, but it's also taking a stand in this situation. So whenever you approach a situation, we usually think, what is it that I want to change here, or is there anything that I want to perpetuate if you have the agency? So, for example, to take this stance, you don't need to build a building, always. If you publish a set of leaflets that make people interact differently with others and engage among them in a different way, or engage with the environment differently, well, that is also architecture, because you are changing the environment. Or if you greet your neighbors, when you're around, you're redefining your neighborhood in a way. Or, for example, artificial intelligence has helped me connect with people around the world from whom I learn every day. And I think that's really wonderful. Or through artificial intelligence embedded in social media, I have also mobilized people around the world to pick up trash from nature. And I think it's very helpful to, it's a very strong way to engage with people in very meaningful ways. So beyond representing and understanding, AI can also help us produce new spaces. AI platforms suggest what places to go to, how to get there, and we are using the city differently. Some streets are getting crowded, and some places that we didn't used to go before, we go now. Some areas of the city are getting very crowded because they're ranking high on AI recommendation list for everyone. And for example, so we are redefining the way we use the city thanks to AI. And regarding culture, I have engaged with platforms that use embedded AI, and they are very popular, and asked, for example, what do you recommend the cultural places that I should go in Stockholm? And it gave me a collection of museums, but is all culture museums? Or is it also, can we consider culture that it's something different? So AI is redefining our ideas of culture and of the city, or at least having a really strong impact on it. Apart from that, I think that, well, not everyone has access to these tools. Some people don't have access to smartphones, but not even the internet. So among the people that have access to smartphones, then the people that have the language skills and technical skills and the time are also privileged among that group. And among them, then the people who control the data are even in a more advantaged situation. So I think that by identifying who's the most vulnerable in this new world, in this new transformation, we are already taking a step forward to realize how big is the problem, who are more vulnerable in this situation. This image, I interacted with Midjourney and I asked various times. I wanted to get an image of 4 glass mannequins. And the bot systematically gave me images of male mannequins. And even if I included in my prompt gender diversity mannequins or gender neutral mannequins, the bot over and over gave me images of male mannequins. So I observed through my interactions that there was a prevalence of males in all the images. Through that, you realize that AI systems often are very biased, depending on the image they come from. I mean, if the information, and if the information comes from the internet, we know that not all information is true, and it's all heavily depending on who is providing information on the internet. So for me, this image is a crystallization of the powerful actors in this new global situation. And what can we do with this? So I think a first step is to be very critical and to realize that there can be a bias and that some people are underrepresented, and to care for that people also. Besides that, when we interact with big platforms who have AI, well, I usually think, well, who's making the questions? For example, when we navigate the city and we get suggestions on the routes we should go from one place to the other, we usually get routes that are very efficient in terms of time. But what about other parameters? Couldn't it be important also to consider social or historical or cultural aspects while designing a route to connect one place with another? So I think in this situation, the persons that are managing the data are in a very powerful situation. But AI is also helping us to optimize the environment, and through monitoring. Through sensors, we can reduce our impact in the climate, and for example, reduce the heating in buildings, or we can also help biodiversity in the world. So I would like just to finish with a couple of sentences that we are now in a really explosive revolution. The world is going to transform a lot with AI, but not all images are fair, nor not all the texts are true. And we need to help others who are most vulnerable in this situation to also harness the power of AI. So I call everyone who has access to AI to help to make the world a better place, but for everyone. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I don't have a question, but I have, that was such a beautiful conversation, and the ending was everything. One thought to take away, I work within the field of democratizing tech, and I know that you're very passionate about making sure that AI and the knowledge behind AI is accessible for everyone. But a question I usually ask young people, and some of them are actually here with us tonight, I ask them, do you see yourself as part of tech? And usually the answer is no. So my question, indirectly for you, is, do you see yourself as part of tech now that you have access to AI as a tool?
I think we are all part of AI. Some are more powerful actors and some are less. But I think that we have to help those who don't have a voice to be able to express their voice and to have the minimum, the basic conditions to be part of this new revolution. So I think that even if you think you are not part of it, you are in a way. You are data. You are part of this new situation. And even if you are left behind, you are part of it, but away. So I think that we really need to strive to have everyone in and to count on everyone.
So, Ingrid Campo Ruiz, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know what you're thinking. When will I get my coffee or my tea or whatever you like? And the people at home joining us on Zoom, I guess that you are in between the coffee machines and the conversations. It's coming up soon. I don't want you to miss this conversation, though. So our fourth talk is art, language, and AI, a pure analysis. Avid Fayaz, welcome.
Thank you very much. In the movie Armageddon, when an asteroid is detected to be heading towards Earth, destroying all life, a group of oil drillers are selected by NASA to be trained by astronauts to go onto the asteroid, dig a deep hole, and detonate a nuclear bomb inside of it. When one of the starring actors in the movie, Ben Affleck, questioned the director Michael Bay why it would be easier to train oil drillers to become astronauts rather than teach astronauts to use oil drilling machines, he received the answer to shut the F up. Happily for us, the world is slightly more nuanced than Michael Bay movies. And yet I would argue that to some degree we face the same question now in terms of development of AI tools and AI models in the art and creativity world, where we face the question of whether it would be easier to teach AI developers more about art and creativity, or artists and creators more about the technology behind AI. Once more, we are lucky because I believe the answer might just be somewhere in between. Since 1956, generally considered the birth year of AI, many have tried to create art and images through these different models. But few would argue that a seismic shift has not occurred in the visual arts regarding AI. Since 2021, AI has been featured on the covers of magazines, won art competitions, and photography competitions. Although it should be mentioned, the photography competition was won without the creator mentioning that it was generated by AI. All these breakthroughs have been through the application of a number of algorithms and structures, such as diffusions and transformer models in connection with large language models on massive sets of data gathered from all of the internet and trained upon. So this picture generated by the first DALL-E version, a text-to-image AI system of a painting of a fox sitting in a field, was generated in 2021, and only through greater analysis of that data and more training through these models, in 2023, DALL-E 3 could create this image with the exact same prompt. But as we move closer to a state where more and more data has been gathered through the internet and we reach the limits of the data available through the internet, the argument could be made that more artists should be involved in the process of creating these models. To get a better grip of the question, we invited students from both technical and artistic backgrounds to partake in a workshop where they got to use these models. They both received a rudimentary introduction into the inner workings of these models, and at the end were challenged to create images that best resembled these two images. The results were quite startling, as the students with artistic backgrounds far outperformed students with technical backgrounds in terms of style and form when using text-to-image AI models. This exploratory study can only be taken perhaps as a small sign of the need for a greater conversation between AI developers and artists. there is a great need that we involve more artists in the pre-training process and the training process of these models, so that they also have a say in the data that is fed to these models and get to curate it in a better way. Through this process, they get the insurance that the data is processed in a fashion that they feel comfortable with and do not feel the threat of AI replacing them in the fashion that they do now, where all data is gathered without any form of real consent from them. And also it would lead to AI developers sleeping much more comfortably at night, not fearing getting sued in heavy copyright litigations. The image behind me was created by an artist, Rafik Nafal, and AI creators together. This can be the beginning of an era of co-creativity with AI, in which both artists and AI developers are involved, and one in which we, as human beings with our different skills, can learn from one another. Used properly, these can be the beginning of an era of greater collaboration between all fields that work with creativity, art, and AI. So a responsible development of further AI models needs to be one that involves all the stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Avid, I know that you're quite interested in arts, right?
Well, yes, I always call myself the black sheep of the family. My family are all artists. My father is a physicist and an artist, but yeah.
You're the only one who's into technology, or you're trying to infuse the both.
Well, to some degree, I would say my father was the one that it's slightly like father, like son. He fused music and physics together a bit, and despite wanting to be a rebel child, I ended up being like him to some degree, I guess.
You kind of followed his footsteps, but in your own way, I would say.
Hopefully.
Avid, you've really inspired me and many of us in terms of how do we braid between the artistry and technology? And I would love to know, does artists need to be involved in a broader aspect in AI models, and how?
Well, I mean, there are many aspects that artists can be more greatly involved in these models. One part is that we have to have greater conversations throughout society about how these models are created, so artists can develop an understanding about it. But in a deeper manner, we should start having conversations with artists that have developed these knowledges about how AI systems work, to be able to also contribute in developing them, because you right now have the capability of training specific models with specific sets of data. So if we can curate that together with artists, maybe the results will be something new that might just be very much more interesting than just putting and pushing as much data as possible into these models.
I'm so looking forward to the panel, because we will be deeper into this conversation. A warm applause again for Avid Fayaz.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there's a pause, a break coming up at where Tekniska will take you on a journey through space. Okay, so demonstrating how storytelling can be used in open space. The station will be held in Newton, the room just right after the entrance. So what you will need to do is actually exit the room and then enter back into this space at 16:25, no later than 16:25. So the station will be held in Newton, led by Alex and Jasper, Magdalena, Emily. They will conduct a mini workshop on ethics and the existence using Tekniska's ethics machine. So they will be in the middle of the library, just behind the stairs, on your right and on your left. I think it might be easy. You have people just at the entrance that will help you as well. And for the guys and the girls and everyone at home or in the office through Zoom, please join us again in 30 minutes. Thank you.